Thanks for joining us, and welcome back to the Watchman on the Wall podcast. Periodically, we'll bring you true stories of angelic encounters, heavenly visitations, near-death experiences, as well as modern-day prophecies that are relevant to us today. When we come back, we'll begin our next episode. Hello and welcome back to the Watchman on the Wall podcast. In today's episode, we'll hear from Stan Johnson. Stan's going to be talking about looks like the probable war of the Russian invasion of Ukraine and how that's going to affect us. He talks about different news sources and information he's got from those news sources, as well as Bible prophecy and people that have had dreams and visions and been hearing from God about this war and how it's going to affect the United States. So I think you're going to find this fascinating, and you're going to probably want to hang on to this podcast for future reference. So here now is Stan Johnson speaking of the Russian invasion of Ukraine.
Welcome to the Prophecy Club. Our topic today is Russia is warning war. They're not kidding. Matter of fact, in my lifetime, I have never seen such a threat, well, at least not since the Cuba Missile Crisis. Russia is warning America about war. So let's go to HalTurnerRadioShow.com. Headline, Putin press conference makes nuclear war clear. In other words, he's threatening nuclear war, makes nuclear war clear. If Ukraine joins NATO or anyone tries to take Crimea by force, it's going to be a nuclear war. That's what he's saying. After a 5-hour meeting with French President Macron over the Ukraine military situation, both Macron and the Russian President Vladimir Putin held a press conference. At that event, Putin was asked how Russia could deal with NATO's superior conventional forces. Putin responded, yes, NATO's conventional forces are more than Russia's, but Russia is the top nuclear power. He's already shown us that he has missiles that fly 10 times the speed of sound. They can go up, they can go down, left, right, speed up, slow down. And so it's not the same trajectory. And he's in so many words, we've covered this before, he's in so many words said, you can't shoot them down. And we're not paying attention. Putin was asked how Russia could deal. He says, yeah, they've got more power, but we've got nuclear, is what he's saying. If Ukraine joins NATO, or anyone tries to take Crimea by force, NATO will be dragged into a war that no one will win. That's what you call a nuclear war. No one will win. And we're not paying attention. He says no one will win. That means nuclear. If Ukraine joins NATO and tries to take back Crimea by force, then NATO member states will be dragged into a war with Russia, and there will be no victors, he says. Russia will not allow an attempt by Ukraine to return Crimea militarily, Russian President Vladimir Putin said. Headline, Russia deploys nuclear Kinzhal missiles on fighter jets to Kaliningrad. After a very tense and by most accounts failed meeting between French President Macron and Russian President Putin, Russia began deploying MiG-31K fighter jets, look at this, armed with nuclear Kinzhal missiles to Kaliningrad. Those planes and those missiles are not routinely stationed there, meaning he's not kidding. He's threatening war. He says the meeting was extremely tense and ended with almost zero good results. At issue is this: Ukraine and its stated intention to join NATO, thereby allowing U.S. missile defenses to be placed on Ukrainian soil. If Ukraine enters NATO, the very first order of business is to place U.S. missile defenses on Ukraine soil. Ukraine said the U.S. said that NATO said it, so if both of them have said it, we should probably believe it. U.S. missile defenses, if launched from inside Ukraine, can hit Moscow within 5 minutes of launch. They can hit Russia's strategic nuclear missile silos within 7 minutes. So it's the same thing when President Kennedy would not allow the Russians to put missiles down in Cuba because they could take out America within 5 minutes. Same thing. Putin is saying, no, I'm not going to let you put missiles 5 minutes from our capital. I'm not going to let you do it. It's the same thing with Cuba. So why is America doing this? This is the Moloch and Baal worshippers in control of JB and his administration, causing us to go over and attack Russia in order to get Russia angry. I'm going to show you. I'll show you in just a second. To get Russia angry to come back and destroy America. For she saith in her heart, I said a queen, and am no widow, and shall see no sorrow. Therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death, mourning, and famine. For strong is the Lord God who judgeth her. It's all happening. It's happening right before our eyes. And the prophecy students see this and say, whoa, I can't believe it's happening. Yeah, it's happening. Let's go on, though. The article goes on to say, those U.S. missiles can be retrofitted with offensive nuclear warheads within 1 hour. The retrofit could be done while the missiles are in their launchers, so no one would even know the warheads have been changed from defensive, or conventional, to nuclear warheads. In other words, if Russia allows us to put these missiles in Ukraine, we could take out Russia in 5 minutes. They're not going to allow that. Russia cannot defend itself from missiles that have a 5-minute flight time. Essentially, that's what it's saying. This has become an existential threat for Russia. They cannot allow it. So what are they doing? The Russian bear? Getting ready for war. The Russian bear knows that this is a threat. And of course, Russia's sitting there saying, what are you doing? You're taking away the peace. We've had peace for 50 years. You're taking it away. America, you are threatening us. You are the problem, America. You are the problem. Say it again. Russia is saying, America, you are starting a war. You are picking a fight. You are drawing a line in the sand. You're sticking your finger in our eye. You're making us angry. We don't want to be angry. We don't want war. But JB and his Moloch and Baal worshippers behind him are actually causing the war, which is what prophecy said would happen. I'll get there. Here we are 50 years later, and that's the same. You can read the rest of it. This essentially is what is going on. This began in 2014 after the EU and the U.S. overthrew the democratic elected president of Ukraine and installed a puppet government favorable to the West. Crimea voted to leave Ukraine and return to Russia. We in the U.S. are the aggressors. We have fomented, incited, and paid for the overthrow of Ukraine's government in 2014 to install a new government favorable to the West, which would allow placement of U.S. missiles in Ukraine. Bingo. That's it. That's the problem. America is starting a war with Russia. We already know from the prophecies that Russia will attack in a surprise nuclear attack. It'll be like rain on a sunny day. We won't see it. We won't expect it's coming. And this is the hand of God. For she saith in her heart, I said a queen, and am no widow, and shall see no sorrow. Therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death, mourning, and famine. For strong is the Lord God who judgeth her. I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon, that's America, Babylon the great has fallen, has become the habitation of devils, the hold of every foul spirit, and the cage of every unclean and hateful bird. That's America. This is prophecy right out of Revelation 18 in the process of being fulfilled. We're watching this taking place in our lifetime. President Putin made remarks today saying Ukraine joining NATO or trying to take Crimea by force would result in NATO being dragged into a war. He said it. He said this is war. A war with Russia that no one can win. That means nuclear. By using the phrase, a war no one can win, Putin was saying it's nuclear. After the meeting with the French president, these MiG-31K fighter jets started arriving in Kaliningrad. That's not where they normally come in. Putin is serious here, and these are nuclear armed. Okay, so he is moving nuclear weapons into position where he will use them if we force him to. The KH-47M Kinzhal dagger is a Russian nuclear-tipped air-launched ballistic missile. It can fly Mach 10 speed, and it has the ability to perform evasive maneuvers at every stage of its flight, meaning it doesn't have to just go in a normal arc. It can go up and down, left, right, faster, slower, and it makes it extremely, some people say, Putin says, impossible to shoot down, meaning if Russia wants to take out America, he can take out America anytime he wants to now, and we can't stop it. That's essentially what he's saying. So anyway, Kinzhal entered service in December 2017. It's one of the 6 new strategic weapons of Russia. So we should be paying attention, and of course, we're not. Now, Benjamin Fulford, back in December 6, 2021, said something very important here. Headline, Khazarian Mafia circles the wagons around the drain. Now, here's what's really going on with Ukraine. The worldwide offensive to permanently liberate humanity from the satanic Khazarian Mafia, that's the Moloch and Baal worshippers, is intensifying on all fronts. Multiple sources agree. The biggest next move is to return Ukraine to the bosom of Mother Russia. Why? To deprive the Khazarian Mafia of control of their ancestral homeland of Khazaria, Ukraine. In other words, the plan is that the good guys, the white hats, the alliance, whatever you want to call them, is sending the Russians in to take over the Moloch and Baal worshippers' homeland. Why? He goes on to tell you. To cut off drugs, other money laundering activities that support the fake administration of JB. This is a fight to the death, as any aware human now realizes. Further confirmation of that, this comes from simonparks.org. I do not recommend him. He's a New Ager. But it says, as part of the second phase, Russia is going into parts of Ukraine. To take back Ukraine, Ukrainian troops will fall back to pre-planned defensive positions, all part of the plan. Now, apparently the plan didn't go as planned, because this should have already happened. Ukraine should have already been part of Russia. Now, let's go on to something, what's really going on here. In my opinion, and the opinion of people in the know, Russia on this case is right, okay? Russia is trying to take over the homeland of the Moloch and Baal, Khazarian Mafia, deep state, what do you want to call them, to remove money laundering, human sacrifice, child sex trafficking, release the secret information which will topple many governments. We'll get to that in a second. America, in charge of America is the Moloch and Baal worshippers. This is the 1% that own the 99%. These are the people that own the banks, own the gold mines, own the diamond mines. They own just about everything. Picking a fight to stop Russia from shutting down their homeland. If they can get Russia to attack and destroy America, the Christian nation, all the better. So Russia is not picking a fight. It's America picking a fight. The Moloch and Baal worshippers, backed by Biden, or back behind Biden, sent CIA operatives into Kazakhstan to remove missiles into Kazakhstan and Ukraine next to Russia. The media will report Russia is actually the bad guy. But the truth is, actually in this case, Russia is trying to help the good guys clean up the mess. So America, Moloch, Baal worshippers are actually forcing Russia to act. Any act. Just so Russia takes out America, you see. The false flag the alliance will let through to, quote, red pill America is probably going to be the suitcase nukes. So the suitcase nukes go off. The media blames the Russians hit us. The suitcase nukes hit. The Russians did it. It lines up with several prophecies. Now, I read this a couple of days ago, but if you really want to understand what's going on, we got to read this again. Vicky Goforth Parnell, January 8, 2022. I believe it's of God. Summarized dream. She said, I saw a general say to another general, we have to keep Ukraine out of Russian control. The money and the gold are hidden in the vaults below ground. We can't let Putin get this money and gold. He will have enough gold for 3 wars. Is there really that much gold in the vaults, one person said. That is what the intel from our NATO allies has told us. We know money and gold is stored there. We've been able to trace some of it to Hunter, which is never supposed to come out in public. Another general said, so this is the Lord showing this lady in a dream what's really going on. Okay, he's revealing the secrets and plans of the enemy. Another general said, so We're protecting Ukraine because of the money and the gold. He said, actually, it's more than just money and gold. It's information. What information? It's information stored there. If it gets out, it will topple governments around the world. I think it's blackmail information. I think there's been other reports where they will invite people in and they watch these human sacrifices. They watch these sex with children thing and they videotape these people watching them. And then they got them blackmail and then they own them, control them. And if you might want my opinion, I can't prove it, but that's probably the reason there's so many rhinos. There's so many people, like all of the Democrats, always vote as they're told. Well, why would that be? Do they not have a brain? Yeah, they have a brain, but they're controlled. They're blackmailed, in my opinion. Can't prove that, but that's my opinion. We cannot let this information or gold fall in the hands of the Russians because that's not all. Whoever controls Ukraine will also own and control a big supply of the world's uranium. With it, Russia will become a nation, now look at this, a nation that no other nation will be able to control. That's straight out of prophecies given to Dmitry Duduman. I'll show you. I was taken to the tunnel and I saw massive troops and military equipment. This tunnel is located near the Ukraine border, the angel said, in the land called the Bear. And I want to show you something that your government, NATO, nor the European government are not aware of. Putin is hiding equipment and soldiers underground. So when he attacks, Ukraine and others will not be prepared. Putin is a crafty, sly fox who serves his master Satan well. The attempted coup of the Kazakhstan government has sent Putin into a white-hot rage. But he also understands the opportunity to aid in the restoration of the government in order to keep a strong foothold on his region and on his borders. Then she says something very important. The match has been lit. I think that phrase is one of the most important phrases I've seen in a long time. See, because the big question is, when does World War III start? Who's going to be on their side? Who's going to be our side? How's it start? How's it end? Who wins? This is saying World War III started. Started, past tense. The match has been lit, and the wick is lighted and burning down, meaning World War III has started. In other words, the fall of America and the preparation of God taking down America has started.
We'll be right back after this message. Hello again, this is The Watchman. Please join us each week for an exciting and inspirational podcast dealing with angel encounters, heavenly visitations, near-death experiences, as well as modern-day prophecies that are relevant to us today. So tune in each week and share it with your friends. After all, they could use a little inspiration in their life, too. That's the Watchman on the Wall podcast, and now you can find us on YouTube. We return now to Stan Johnson speaking on the Russian invasion of Ukraine.
Momentarily will explode into full-blown explosion. Your countdown has reached 0. World War III has started. That's what the Lord's saying here. This action today is the spark that begins war. Read it again. This action today is the spark that begins war. What war? The war between Russia and America. What is that? That'd be World War III. So the point is, the match has been lit. World War III has started. The wick is ignited and burning down. Momentarily means very soon you're going to see this thing in Ukraine just explode into a full-blown explosion. Your countdown has reached 0. America, in other words, your time for sinning and walking all over Jesus is about to come to an end. This action today is the spark that begins World War III, or the war. This action today, brought on by Putin's move to the Ukraine, has started this war. Both Russia and your once great nation of America will fight this war, even though you will not hear much evidence of it in your nation or other allies being here. In other words, our news is corrupt. Your nation and its allies entered this nation as a covert mission, but it has failed. Now Putin will strengthen his borders through aiding the Kazakhstan or the Moloch and Baal worshippers government and its people, and now the rest shall follow. So, the fall of America has now started. Again, the fall of America will start with an internal revolution started by the communists. Some of the people will start fighting against the government. The government will be busy with internal problems. Then from the oceans, Russia, Cuba, Nicaragua, Central America, Mexico, and two of the countries you couldn't remember, but I think they are Venezuela, possibly Colombia, but definitely Iraq. Isaiah 13, I think it's 10, says, I will stir up the Medes against them. So we know that. All right, let's go on, though. This morning I was awakened by a loud voice of a man saying, 0, brace for impact, brace for impact, brace for impact. And I said, what? Then it said it the fourth time, brace for impact, followed by, it has begun. Now, a lot of people send me a lot of dreams. Many of them are just personal dreams. A lot of them are invitations to come up higher. It means God saying, if you want to know more, you're going to have to get alone and fast and pray and seek my face. But when you hear audible words like this, that gives it a lot of credibility. My opinion, she had an angel come to her, and the angels confirmed this with 4 times. It says it has gone. It said 2 times 0. So this one is high credibility. The first phase of the war has begun, she said. The start of it on the eve of it all, with me being all. And I'm going to skip the rest of this. We'll go to the next page. But what happens now? So now she's trying to wake up. She's trying to ask the Lord, tell me more. You wake up, he says. But what about Ukraine, Taiwan, and the war? You fully focus on me. When you see these things, know that it is time to bolt your door. That's not physically, that's saying spiritually. And stay under the shadow of my wings. By the way, God does not have wings, but it's a way of saying under my protection. Trust me and stay braced. So he said 5 times, stay braced. So this is the lady that had that. You can check it out if you'd like. Now, I've already covered this, but it's so very important. I will briefly cover it again. Daniel chapter 7 talks about 4 beasts coming. The first one is essentially talking about, yes, I know it's a line, but essentially it's talking about that there will be America, and then there will be the Russian bear, and then there will be the leopard, which is Islam, and then the fourth one will be world government. But here's the point. This is what's going on right now. This is in progress of fulfillment. And behold, another beast like unto a bear, and it raised itself up on one side, and had 3 ribs in the mouth of it between the teeth of it. Now, what are the 3 ribs in the mouth of it between the teeth of it? I think I'm going to be able to show you. I think it's what we're talking about right here. And it says that when you see these 3 ribs in the mouth of it between the teeth of it, then the bear will arise and devour much flesh. Well, yes, Russia's killed a lot of people. Okay, well, there's no secret about that. But the prophecy is saying, when you see 3 ribs in the mouth of it between the teeth of it, then you're going to see the bear arise and devour much flesh. January 19th, 2022. It's 20. Got the date wrong there. This is 2022, not 2002. He says, I was standing on the border of Ukraine and Russia. I saw a large boiling pot, and soldiers on both sides of the cauldron were tossing up blocks and bricks and pieces of what looked like tree limbs and large black bags. In other words, it's a war, but it's not nuclear yet. The 3 different sides were not engaged with each other, just filling the pots. But one thing I began to notice was the pot was growing larger exponentially. So this wick that has started is going to start growing bigger and bigger. It was about 50 foot high. Then I saw the 2 walls were growing off the boiling pot at the same height. It was moving north and blocked Ukraine, Belarus, Latvia, and Estonia. I'm going to show you, I believe that Ukraine, Latvia, and Estonia are the 3 ribs in the mouth of it between the teeth of it. Meaning, this is what we watch for, my brothers and sisters, all you prophecy students. You need to send this out to all your friends. They need to know this. So what we're watching for, if Russia comes down and takes over Ukraine, Latvia, and Estonia, if that happens, and the prophecy is about to say that's exactly what happens, If that happens, that will prove out that those are the three ribs in the mouth of it, between the teeth of it. Then we will see Russia arise and devour much flesh. Then we will see Russia arise and eventually attack and destroy America in 1 day and 1 hour, so great riches will come to naught. Ukraine, Belarus, Latvia, and Estonia. The southern moving wall closed off the southern part of Ukraine, Russia, and Georgia. The wall stopped at the top and the bottom became taller, seeming like it was 100 feet high, separating the nation from Russia, with Georgia being the exception. Now, I actually emailed Coverstone on this, and what he's saying here is that Estonia, Latvia, and Ukraine will be gobbled up by Russia. Say it again. Estonia, Latvia, and Ukraine will be gobbled up by Russia. Belarus is actually already part of Russia. Not officially, but kind of. Wikipedia says it really never left Russia. But the three new ones will be Estonia, Latvia, and Ukraine. If we see Russia gobble up those next three nations there, that will be the three ribs in the mouth of it, between the teeth of it. And then we will see Russia arise and devour much flesh, meaning shortly after that, she will begin to attack America in a surprise nuclear attack. I'm going to skip on. Then I watched the wall get blue and cold, in other words, another Cold War, and appear as it were suddenly electrified with a digital signal. Then ice appeared, and the electricity going through the wall froze in place. However, there was still a pulse in the wall that seemed to be moving like the signal on a heart monitor, and it went from Estonia to Georgia. When the night came, you could see the pulse on the western side. There were also lights that were about 500 feet above the walls, as the well fixed on the poles that covered the top of the wall with a light, and revealed guard turrets around 50 feet above the wall, with two guards each watching one side, meaning there's about to be another Cold War. There's about to be a small Cold War to start with. Then I heard the words, "A new Cold War is upon us, but cyber will be the new cipher." So I want to make certain I got that right. I looked up cyber as electronic computer communication or animation. Cipher is a secret message disguised in code. So it's saying that computers are going to be the new way to communicate during this Cold War. Now, this is important too. At MidnightCry.com, this guy, he says on there, I'm a mouse, I'm a nobody, I'm a nothing. But God showed me these dreams, so I'm going to tell you. And he had them several times. He said, I woke to a dream that I've had in the past, and so he saw it the second time. I saw a beautiful sky, white clouds all over. Suddenly the sky went black. Massive pandemonium, chaos, mayhem, and dead bodies and blood all over. I heard the words, it will begin the second half of 2022. I woke up and documented it. That's another thing. When you have a dream, you should get up and write it. If you don't respect it enough to get up and write it down, then why should anybody else respect it, right? I said, Lord, if this is really you, I indeed need a confirmation. I must know that this is definitely you. The very next day, I got the exact same dream plus one. It will happen. It will begin the second half of 2022, he heard. In the second dream, I saw a young man delivering newspapers. They left the newspapers in bags, and the paper boy would deliver them door to door. But instead of a newspaper, he pulled out a machine gun and started killing people, meaning we're about to see civil unrest, chaos, just like several of the other people, like Shane Warren saw. Young man delivering the good news of the newspapers, the media, now turned on his own country people. On December 30th, 2021, the Lord gave me the same dream that he'd given on the 26th and 27th, beautiful blue sky, but it flips, becomes black, mayhem, pandemonium, dead bodies, and he hears the words, it begins the second half of 2022. Now, hang on. You remember Dmitri was told, the fall of America will start with an internal revolution in America started by the communists. You remember Terry Bennett was told that the military will have to step in and seize control of our federal government. And then Jack Rigney was shown that armored battalion of tanks going into the Capitol Supreme Court and the White House, taking it over, disarming all of the people inside, going back in and getting all of the evidence that they wanted from those places. Leslie, April 15, 2002, had a dream. I'll quickly go through it. She was shown that Arafat will die in the hospital. It was fulfilled about 2 years later. She was shown the Palestinians will be given a state, that massive amounts of oil will be discovered in Israel. Israel will strengthen her military with the oil. Then Israel and the U.S. will go against Islam, and that'll be World War III. So since we now know that World War III has started, we can begin to watch. You should write these down. Write these down so that when these start coming to pass, you'll remember, you'll have those for you. Which, by the way, they're also, go to prophecyclub.com. We've got books with all of this in it and a lot more. January 22 of 06, she heard the audible voice of God tell her 6 newspaper headlines. And then June the 27th of 2008, in a vision of the night, I was shown her actually holding up newspapers with these newspaper headlines on it. So I can confirm what she was shown. Omar ushers in Palestinian states. Newspaper headline, watch for it. Catastrophe hits America. One of America's greatest times of need. Israel refuses help to America. Israel is attacked. America sends troops. Chaos reigns as Americans protest help to Israel. Then she heard my voice quoting Dimitri, the fall of America will start with an internal revolution. So these are the newspaper headlines just before the fall of America. Hopefully we have more time.
Hello again, this is The Watchman. Please join us on our new video channel called Encounters from Beyond the Veil. It's the same exciting content as our audio podcast, but in a shorter, but yet a video format. Also, please subscribe so you won't miss any of our episodes. That's Encounters from Beyond the Veil, exclusively found on YouTube. Well, thanks again for listening, and if you enjoyed this episode, please share it with your friends. Any comments or suggestions you may have, you can send to thewatchmanonthewall2020@gmail.com. We encourage you to subscribe so you'll always be notified of our future episodes. Well, thanks again, and we'll see you next time on the Watchman on the Wall podcast.